Hello everyone, welcome to Enviro Pioneers, where we try to simplify the concept of environmental science for you. In this video, we will learn about the sun, which is the primary source of energy. So, as per the information available at the NASA website, our sun is 4.5 billion year old, a medium-sized star, and it mainly consists of hydrogen and helium, which are held together by the gravity of the sun. Sun is center of our solar system and is also the largest object with the diameter about 1.4 million kilometers and the radius about 7 lakh kilometers. The distance between the sun and the earth is 93 million miles. There are two terms, Sol and Helios, from where we are having the derivation of different terminology. Latin word for the sun is Sol. The meaning of Sol is anything related to sun. And from here we are having the term solar. And we use solar energy, solar system, all these things that come from this particular term. In the Greek mythology, the sun god is referred as Helios. And from here, we have the derivation of the term like this heliosphere, helioseismology, and then heliophysics. Heliosphere we will discuss in the later part of the video. Helioseismology and the heliophysics are the study related to sun. But there is difference. Helioseismology is study of the interior of sun using the observation of waves, and the heliophysics is study of sun and its influence throughout the solar system. So when we are talking about the interior of the sun, it is helioseismology, and when we are talking about the influence of sun on the solar system, that is heliophysics. There are some other interesting facts about sun, that it is 100 times wider than the earth and 10 times wider than the Jupiter. Sun is made up of super hot electrically charged gas called plasma. Abhi, plasma is the fourth state of matter where, due to high heat and temperature, all the components these are present in the ionized form. And the sun, it rotates on its axis, but because of the plasma, here we observe the differential rotation. Differential rotation means that the different parts of the sun, they rotate at different speed. For example, at the equator, one rotation is completed in 25 Earth days, while at the pole it is completed in 36 Earth days. So the part of the sun which we observe from the Earth is actually the photosphere. Photosphere is the layer of sun's atmosphere which emit the light in the visible range. And as it is made up of plasma, it does not have any solid surface. So coming to the source of energy in the sun, so here we have the nuclear fusion reaction. So mainly because of the proton-proton fusion cycle, there is generation of tremendous amount of heat. So in the center part or the core of the sun, because of the intense temperature and the pressure, the hydrogen nuclei, they combine with each other to form a helium nuclei. So this particular cycle, proton-proton fusion cycle, this generate a tremendous amount of energy in the sun. So here we can see that two protons, they fuse to create a deuterium nucleus, and then a positron and neutrino is generated in the process. Then the subsequent step, again this deuterium, it fuses with the proton to form a helium-3 nuclei. Then two helium-3 nuclei will generate a helium nucleus. So in this process, where four protons are ultimately fusing to form a helium nuclei, so in this process, the mass of helium is 0.7% less than that of total 4 hydrogen nuclei, and this lost mass is converted into the energy in this fusion process. So per mole of helium produced, there is generation of 3.6 into 10 to power 11 kilojoule of energy. Now, coming to the anatomy of the sun. So, the interior of the sun is made up of core, radiative zone, and the convective zone. And then we have the sun's atmosphere, that is the photosphere, chromosphere, and the corona. So, core is the center part where we have the nuclear fusion reaction and generation of tremendous amount of heat and energy. So this is the center part, and from here the energy is transferred towards the outside. अब डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि कैसे एनर्जी ट्रांसफर हो रही है, अकॉर्डिंगली वी हैव द नेम रेडिएटिव एंड कन्वेक्शन जोन. सो next to the core is the radiative zone. So radiative zone is जहाँ पे through the radiation process energy transfer हो रही है. Means यहाँ पे जो भी molecules हैं, they will absorb the energy and then again they will emit the energy. So through the radiation process, the energy is transferred towards the outside. Next to the radiative zone, we have the convection zone. Convection zone is the layer where the mode of heat transfer is convection process. So here the heated plasma will rise, and in this process it will lose some of its energy and again it will sink back. So ये जो कन्वेक्शन प्रोसेस है, यानी कि जो हीटेड प्लाज्मा है वो ऊपर के साइड राइज होगा, उसमें कुछ प्रोसेस कुछ हीट जो है वो रिलीज होगी एंड अगेन इट विल सिंक बैक टूवर्ड्स द डाउन साइड. तो थ्रू द कन्वेक्शन प्रोसेस द हीट इज गेटिंग ट्रांसफर टूवर्ड्स द आउटर साइड. सो ये जो कन्वेक्शन जोन है, यहाँ पे हमारा मीन्स मोड ऑफ हीट ट्रांसफर जो है वो कन्वेक्शन प्रोसेस है. अब ये कन्वेक्शन जोन के बाहर हमारा स्टार्ट होता है सन्स एटमॉस्फेयर. सो सन्स एटमॉस्फेयर का जो सबसे फर्स्ट लेयर है दैट इज द फोटोस्फेयर. अब फोटोस्फेयर दिस इज द लाइट स्फेयर. Light sphere means the layer of the sun's atmosphere which is emitting the electromagnetic radiation in the visible range. In other part the electromagnetic radiation is getting emitted, but uska jo wavelength hai that falls that is not in the visible range, यानी जो हम देख नहीं सकते. But the photosphere is the only layer जहाँ पे temperature comparatively बाकी other layer जो है उनसे कम होता है, जिसकी वजह से जो electromagnetic radiation है जो emit हो रही है वहां से, that will be having the wavelength in the visible range और वो हमको visible है. तो जो हम sun को observe करते हैं यहाँ से and yellow color हमें दिखता है, so that is mainly the photosphere. That is actually not a surface, sun surface, but it is the first layer of the sun atmosphere which is just outside the convection zone. Next is the chromosphere and the corona. So again this chromosphere and the corona, these are not we cannot see from the earth, मतलब हमको ये visible नहीं है. But when we are having the total solar eclipse, उस केस में chromosphere, that is a bright sphere, तो ये आपको एक bright red rim की तरह, यानी कि जो sun का फोटोस्फेयर के ऊपर जो लेयर है वहां पे आपको एक ब्राइट रेड रिम की तरह दिखेगा. आप यहाँ पे इस इमेज में देख सकते हैं. एंड देन वी हैव द कोरोना. कोरोना इज द क्राउन ऑफ द सन. मीन्स जहां तक इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशन इसकी ये स्कैटर्ड है. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो नॉट विजिबल नॉर्मली, बट ड्यूरिंग द सोलर एक्लिप्स ये जो आपको स्कैटर्ड ये रिम्स दिख रहे हैं, that is actually the corona. Now here if we see that Inner layer, we have core, then radiator zone, and then convection zone. And then we can have the sun atmosphere, जो हम outer layers की बात कर रहे हैं. So photosphere, chromosphere, transition zone, and the corona. Transition zone is actually the region जहाँ पे sudden increase in temperature होता है. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप notice करो तो core में जो temperature है, this is 15 million Kelvin. फिर radiative zone में it is 7 million Kelvin, and then in convection zone 2 million Kelvin. So we are having very high heat in the interior of the sun. But if you notice here, that is the photosphere, here we are having the 4000 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin with the average 5700 Kelvin. तो ये हमारा एक ऐसा लेयर है जहां से जो भी इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशन इमिट होती है वो विजिबल रेंज में फॉल करती है. एंड अगेन फोटोस्फेयर के बाद अगेन क्रोमोस्फेयर और फिर कोरोना में फिर हमें टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज मिलता है. इस डायग्राम में अगर हम नोटिस करें तो जैसे हम फोटोस्फेयर, क्रोमोस्फेयर एंड कोरोना की बात कर रहे हैं, जैसे जैसे हम सन से डिस्टेंस में मूव कर रहे हैं, so we are observing the increase in the temperature. So after the chromosphere we are having the sudden increase in the temperature. Reason is not yet known, but we observe a sudden sharp rise in the temperature, and then in the corona part we are having the very high temperature. So the reason where we are having the increase in temperature is referred as the transition zone. Once these materials leaves the corona in the outer space at the supersonic speed, it is referred as the solar wind, and it forms a huge magnetic bubble around the sun, and this magnetic bubble is referred as the heliosphere. So heliosphere is mainly starting from the sun and extending beyond the orbit of the planets in our solar system. Now there are some other terms जैसे कि हमारा यहाँ पे sunspots है, then we have the coronal mass ejection, then solar flares, solar prominence. So sunspots are basically those areas जहाँ पे temperature comparatively कम होता है, and because of that it appears dark on the surface of the sun. So these are the reasons ड्यू टू मैग्नेटिक एनोमली जहां पे टेम्परेचर कंपैरेटिवली बाकी जगह से कम होता है. देन देयर आर सोलर प्रोमिनेंस. सो सोलर प्रोमिनेंस आर द लूप प्लाज्मा. You can see here in these two diagrams. So here we are having this loop of plasma. So when these loops are formed along the magnetic field lines, so these are referred as the solar prominence. Now moving to the solar flares and the coronal mass ejection. ये दोनों दिखने में लगभग आपको सेम लग रहे हैं यहाँ पे, बट थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है. Solar flares are the giant explosions on the sun, and it releases energy, light and the high speed particles into the space. So mainly जो energy generate होती है that is in the form of ultraviolet and X-ray. जो solar flares हैं, these are categorized into different classes A, B, C, M and X class. तो जो A और B class है, these are the weakest flares and the X is the strongest one. और ये हर letter, each letter, this represent an increase in energy of a factor of 10, और हर class में we have the number scale from 1 to 9. And the energy which is released, it travels at the speed of light and it can reach to the earth in just 8 minutes. फिर जो coronal mass ejections है, these are the large expulsions of plasma and the magnetic field from the sun's corona. तो यहाँ पे जो भी material है that is released along with the magnetic field and it can travel at different speed. तो अगर हम स्लोअर की बात करें तो इट कैन बी 250 किलोमीटर पर सेकेंड एंड द मैक्सिमम स्पीड इट कैन रीच अप टू 3000 किलोमीटर पर सेकेंड. अब depending upon at what speed it is traveling, it can reach to the earth in 15 to 18 hours, or it can take several days to arrive. और जब भी सोलर फ्लेयर्स होते हैं मेनली दे आर एसोसिएटेड विद द कोरोनल मास इजेक्शंस. Sun, it acts like a huge bar magnet with a north and south pole. अब ये क्यों है? बिकॉज इसमें सन के अंदर जो भी कंपोनेंट्स हैं दीज आर प्रेजेंट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ प्लाज्मा, और ये जो कंटिन्यूस मूवमेंट और रोटेशन है इस प्लाज्मा की दैट जनरेट्स अ करंट इनसाइड द सन, एंड इसकी वजह से सन का मैग्नेटिक फील्ड जनरेट होता है. अब ये मैग्नेटिक फील्ड कहाँ तक है? सो इट कैन रीच इनटू द स्पेस, जहां तक भी हेलियोस्फेयर है वहां तक हमारा ये सन का मैग्नेटिक फील्ड रीच कर सकते हैं. और ये मैग्नेटिक फील्ड बियॉन्ड दी जो प्लैनेट्स हैं उसके बियॉन्ड भी वहां तक ये पूरा स्फेयर बबल जो है वो क्रिएटेड होता है. एंड यहाँ पे अगेन नोटिस लिखा हुआ है कि दी वास्ट बबल ऑफ स्पेस विच इज डोमिनेटेड बाय द सन्स मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इज द हेलियोस्फेयर. And because of the differential rotation of the sun, जो magnetic field है it spins like a large rotating spiral. अब इसको हम कहते हैं पार्कर स्पाइरल. अब ये पार्कर स्पाइरल का जो शेप है that is similar to the pattern of water from a rotating garden sprinkler. मतलब जो गार्डन में स्प्रिंकलर होता है अगर उसको आप रोटेटिंग इमेजिन करो तो सिमिलर शेप का यहाँ पे सन का आपको मैग्नेटिक फील्ड लगभग दिखता है. देन वी हैव द सोलर साइकिल. इन एवरी 11 years जो नॉर्थ एंड साउथ पोल्स हैं सन के दे गेट स्विच. तो यहाँ पे मेंशन है सन ज्योग्राफिक पोल्स दे चेंज देयर मैग्नेटिक पोलैरिटी, मीन्स जो नॉर्थ एंड साउथ मैग्नेटिक पोल्स दे गेट स्वैप. एंड विद इन दिस साइकिल जो फोटोस्फेयर, क्रोमोस्फेयर एंड कोरोना है दे चेंज फ्रॉम क्वाइट एंड काम टू वायलेंटली एक्टिव. एंड जिस फेज में सबसे ज्यादा एक्टिविटी हो रही है यानी सोलर फ्लेयर्स, कोरोनल मास इजेक्शन, that is referred as the solar maximum where we are having the greatly increased solar storm activity. And उस समय sunspots, eruptions, solar flares, coronal mass ejection, these are common. And because of this, huge amount of energy and particles will be released in the space, and it may have the impact on the earth. This image represents the effect of the sun on the earth's magnetic field. So here if we see the magnetic field towards the side which is facing the sun, here it is mainly compressed, and इसका जो डिस्टेंस है यानी कि जो जितने डिस्टेंस तक अर्थ की मैग्नेटिक फील्ड है दैट इज अप टू 6 to 8 टाइम्स ऑफ द अर्थ डायमीटर. वहीं अगर हम अपोजिट साइड देखें तो यहाँ पे मैग्नेटिक फील्ड जो है वो बहुत दूर तक एक्सटेंड करती है एंड इट मे रीच अप टू द 100 ऑफ टाइम्स द अर्थ विड्थ. नॉर्मल कंडीशन में सोलर विंड के साथ जितने भी चार्ज पार्टिकल्स या रेडिएशन आ रहे हैं दैट इज मेनली डिफ्लेक्टेड बिकॉज ऑफ द अर्थ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड. But when there is coronal mass ejection, it carries materials along with the plasma towards the outer space. And if it is towards the earth, then it further compresses the earth magnetosphere. And there is possibility that the coronal mass ejection magnetic field, it may connect with the earth magnetic field, and it may get break. And if there is such chance, then some of the plasma it may enter into the earth's outer atmosphere, that is in the uh, ionosphere part. So when there is disruption or disturbance in the earth magnetic field because of the coronal mass ejection, it is referred as the geomagnetic storm, and it may result in the formation of auroras at the polar side, or it may lead to the communication, or the power grid interference. Now, aurora displays, these are mainly the brighter display in the Earth atmosphere, and it mainly occur when the ions or the coronal mass component, it is funneled down towards the Earth pole, and the component of the plasma, they colloid with the earth atmosphere, with the component of the earth atmosphere, resulting into the dazzling light, which is referred as the auroras. अगर ये नदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में हो रहा है तो इसको हम कहते हैं नदर्न लाइट या फिर अरोरा बोरियलिस. अगर ये सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में हो रहा है फेनोमेना तो इसको हम कहते हैं सदर्न लाइट और अरोरा ऑस्ट्रेलिस. अब ये जो कलर फॉर्म हो रहा है अरोरा का, दैट डिपेंड अपॉन द एल्टीट्यूड, यानी कितने हाइट पे हो रहा है और कौन से एटम्स इसमें इन्वॉल्व है. अगर जो हाईली इनर्जाइज पार्टिकल, इफ दे आर स्ट्राइकिंग टू ऑक्सीजन एटम्स एट हायर इन द एटमॉस्फेयर, तो उस केस में रेड ग्लो प्रोड्यूस होता है. अगर ऑक्सीजन एटम एट लोअर एल्टीट्यूड पे है तो ग्रीन येलो कलर जनरेट होता है. अगर आयंस नाइट्रोजन एटम के साथ स्ट्राइक हो रहे हैं, देन इन दैट केस वी हैव द रेडिश एंड द ब्लूइश लाइट, or if it is with the hydrogen and helium atoms, then it create the blue and the purple auroras. Then there are certain technical disturbance because of the solar flares and the coronal mass ejection on the earth. जो M class and the X class flares हैं, solar flares हैं, that may result in the thickening of the ionosphere, because ionosphere में जितने ज़्यादा ionized particle, it will result in the uh, less transmission of the radio signal, and because of that there is chances of minor to extensive radio blackouts on the side of earth which is facing the sun. बिकॉज ऑफ द हीटिंग, यानी जो अर्थ का आउटर एटमॉस्फेयर है, अगर उसकी हीटिंग बिकॉज ऑफ द प्लाज्मा हो रही है, देन इट विल रिजल्ट इन द एक्सपेंशन एंड इट हैव द नेगेटिव इफेक्ट ऑन द अर्थ ऑर्बिटिंग सैटेलाइट्स. मेनली हमारा जो जीपीएस सैटेलाइट्स है जो मीडियम अर्थ ऑर्बिट में रिवॉल्व होते हैं, उस केस में उनके ऊपर ज्यादा इफेक्ट होता है, एंड देन बिकॉज ऑफ द इफेक्ट, नेगेटिव इफेक्ट ऑन देयर स्पीड, all the measurements related with the GPS, it will be means having the lesser precisions. Then solar flares, sometimes they produce the energetic particles, and if it is captured by the Earth magnetic field, then these particles can damage the Earth orbiting satellites. So mainly the satellites related to communication, intelligence gathering, weather forecasting, or these may be affected, and it also may cause the high frequency radio blackouts in the polar region. And in some of the extreme cases, it is also observed that these fluctuating magnetic fields associated with the geomagnetic storm, it induces the currents in the long wires like the power lines, and resulting in the failure of the transformers and leading to the widespread blackouts in the extreme cases. These are some of the references from where I have compiled the information presented in the video. Thank you.